Oh my goodness. Hello, hello everybody. I usually hop. I can't hop because if you could see below here, I have been preparing for this new mini-series that I'm going to talk about in a minute. So I have books here and then I have Ella here. And so I had to kind of come through that little tiny path. And my dog loves to like jump up when you're trying to step around her, and then either you fall or something falls, because, she jumps up and bumps you. So I had to tiptoe to get over here. But anyway, I want to talk to you about this new series. First, happy Black History Month. And I hope you guys are finding some good recommendations online and reading some cool stuff for this month. So what I wanted to do is, I thought about this a couple months ago, and I was like trying to come up with some things for the channel. And I've been playing with the year 2025 to try to come up with some, different themed videos. And so I decided this mini-series would be called 5 in 25. And it's 5 genres, playing with the 5 from 2025. And 5 book recommendations in those 5 genres. And so I initially was going to just do and stick to African American authors, but I did sprinkle in some other people because what I did was I walked around and looked at my shelves and just pulled things. So there's definitely, these are not the only books that I have in those categories. These are just the ones I pulled. And then I started getting like, let's just go fast, Belinda, because if I keep doing this, I'm going to end up taking forever before I get to this. So our first category that we're going to start with is, I'm calling these ones nonfiction. Is it? Yeah, this is what we're going to do first. This is the nonfiction. Yeah, we'll do nonfiction. And some of these books I've read were actually, all of these books I read a while back. I think the most recent one is the John Lewis one, which I'll talk to you about in a minute. So I'm going to just, mention the books. You can always go up and look more about the descriptions, but I'm not going to necessarily. I always say this and then I end up reading the back for you about the books, but I will read some if I don't feel I'm giving you enough information. But you can always look up the information. And the only reason I say that is because some of these I've read a long time ago. So I have, my recollection of everything is recollection. I like that. And I'm not editing it. You're getting this just like it is. So sometimes I don't always remember everything, but let's just get started. Let's get started. Okay. And so the first one I'm going to recommend, and I talked about it. Everybody talks about it, and I don't care. I'm going to talk about it. And that was the other thing. When I was picking books, I was getting anxious because I was like, everybody knows this book. Or, and you know what? That's not really the truth. Everybody's reading a lot of different things. And even though some books might be popular and they might be in my, my viewing, it doesn't mean everybody else has. So I hate when people say that, everybody knows this book, because it's not true. Especially when I feel it when I'm like, I haven't heard of that book. So if you have not heard of this book, now you will. And that's The Warmth of Other Suns, The Epic Story of America's Great Migration by Isabel Wilkerson. And when you go back to my video, when you see me talk about this, I talked about it for several months and maybe even years, because I was so intimidated by the chunk factor. I was like, nope, no. And I remember Dee Dee talking about it and telling me, you got to just read it. You're going to love it. It reads fast. You got to do it. And I was like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do it. And I finally did, and I loved it. Now, this is what I say for you. If you just are normally a person that reads a lot of large books, then you're not intimidated, go for it. Another way to enhance this, and I did do this, is I paired it with the audiobook. Y'all know me that I will do that in a heartbeat. It brings books to me to life, and I love having it because then I can just I marked up this book. I didn't put flags, interestingly enough, but I'm having lots of dialogue with the book and in the margins. But I did write in here, and obviously I felt precious with it because I did it in pencil. I didn't do it in pen. My only worry is that over time they'll fade, and I don't want them to. But it was so good. So this one follows, I think, three different people? I put three. I'm not even counting right today. three. It follows three different people, and it goes from, I think it starts in 1915, and it comes up. It follows them on their migration, the mass migration of Black people from the South to the North in this country. I'll read right here, really, because it's nice in the back. It says, in this epic, beautifully written masterpiece, Pulitzer Prize winning author Isabel Wilkerson chronicles one of the great untold stories of American history, the decades-long migration of Black citizens who fled the South from northern and western cities in search of a better life. In 1915 to 1970, this exodus of almost 6 million, that's a lot of people changed the face of America. She interviewed more than 1,000 individuals and gained access to new data and official records to write this definitive and vividly dramatic account of how these American journeys unfolded, altering our cities, our country, and ourselves. And the fascinating thing is this reads like a novel, but it's so meticulously researched, and it's just so moving. And I think that it should be required reading. Now, maybe college, it would be great for high school, but at least for college, I think that this just is something that is important. But even for high school, I think, maybe they don't do the whole book. Maybe there's I don't know. I just think it's a great book to talk about, because this would be a chunker for a high school student to put down. They just wouldn't be able to read the other books of the year if they just did this one. But I highly recommend it. If you haven't read it, I promise you, I've never heard anybody say they didn't enjoy this book. It is so moving, and it's fantastic. It would be really great if somebody could make a movie of this. It would be amazing. So there's that. Okay, so I keep these piles together because I have these categorized and ready, and I need to put them away. So I am going to record these videos, boom, 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 so I can put them back on the shelves. But that's one. Let me just talk about, let me see, did I bring it with me? I did not. I did not bring my Kindle with me, or my iPad. Do I have it here? Let me just look 1 second. Oh, well, let me move. I have one more book that I don't have with me. And stay there. No, stay there. I'm moving around. I'm not editing it. Come over here then. Come and sit down again. Come and sit down. Nobody can even see you. I realized this is one of my favorite books that I read, and I can't find it. This one, I walked around, I picked 4 books, and then I couldn't find this one. I know I didn't lend it to anybody, and I know it's going to turn up after this video, but it's How the Word is Passed by Clint Smith, and it was incredible. Let me see if I can pull it up here. I'll put it over here. If I don't have it on this, I will put it up here, but it was such a good, let me see how. It was so amazing. What he did was he went down around the country and out to the African continent, to various locations and monuments, and talked about the histories there and how we have, some of it was like how we have interpreted or have been presenting the history of these areas, and some of it is things that we just didn't know. He talks about this prison in one of the areas, but let me see if I can read it, because see, I'm so horrible at sometimes describing. It says, How the Word is Passed, A Reckoning with the History of Slavery Across America in a 2021 nonfiction book written by Clint Smith. The work examines the slavery in America. Oh, come on. Where is it? That's all. This text includes visits to a variety of historical landmarks and monuments and describes how each entity depicts the history of American slavery. That's even better than how I said it. But this book was just so good. It was so, like, I'm not going to say easy to read because it's obviously the topic of slavery, but it was definitely engaging. Like, I wanted to keep going with it. And so I say, if you get a chance to read it, you should. If I don't show it up there, I don't know if I get a chance to edit it, I will show you there. There's the cover of it. I don't know where it is. It's going to drive me nutty. This is literally one of my favorite books. And I would love him to write another one. But, you know, I just think he could do, the way that he presented history was like a bird's eye. Like, you were just there. You know, you were able to be at the monuments, experience that feeling, and then he would give you background history of places, things that you just didn't know. So, yeah. Some shocking new ones, too, to me that I didn't know. So there's that one. That's my number 2. So How the Word is Passed, Clint Smith. It's good. Just read it. Read it. This is a classic. It's James Baldwin, The Fire Next Time. And if my flags don't tell you something, I felt like halfway through this book, I'm flagging every page. But this book is that good. It is so relevant today as it was. I think this was 1963, I think, when this was first printed. Oh my gosh. It's just everything in here. Everything in here is just so spot on for a Black person. When you read this, it just feels so, like, you feel vindicated, you feel heard, you feel seen. And so I just think that this should definitely be required reading, because I think it's important for us. And so let me read the back of it a little bit to you. It says, okay, At once a powerful evocation of James Baldwin's early life in Harlem and a disturbing examination of the consequences of racial injustice, The Fire Next Time is an intensely personal and provocative document and consists of 2 letters written on an occasion of the centennial of the Emancipation Proclamation that exhort Americans, but both Black and white, to attack the terrible legacy of racism. Described by the New York Times Book Review as a sermon, ultimatum, confession, deposition, testament, and chronicle, all presented in searing, brilliant prose. It's just another one, and it's small. So if you pick one, if you don't want to read a big one, this one is great. It's relevant. I feel it will be always relevant. But that's a great one to read. Another one that I have read, that if you're on this channel for a while, you just know that I gush about Bryan Stevenson. And when I read this book, Just Mercy, I just couldn't stop talking about it. And I just wanted to absorb any interview he had. I went online to look for interviews. I know he did an interview with Oprah. I mean, he was all over the place. And then they took it and they made a movie of this book. Now, read the book. The movie is good, but the book is obviously better. And we all as readers know that. And there's a lot of information in here that is important that they did not put into the film. So it's really important to read it. And what it is he has created a justice system that, the Equal Justice Initiative, that helps people that have been incarcerated and they've been wrongly accused, particularly on death row, and particularly people of color. And the one that this book kind of focuses a lot on is Walter McMillan, who I think has passed now, but he was wrongfully accused and put in jail, and it follows Bryan Stevenson's journey to get him exonerated from those charges. And it's just so moving, gripping, and very frustrating and angry. You know, you get angry that this is still happening to people. And his organization still exists. You can go to the Equal Justice Initiative online and you can see what the work that they're doing now. I know he also did another project, I think the Lynching Museum I want to say that was him. And I want to say that's he's in North Carolina. I can't remember where it is, but I almost think that he was key to that, if that was not one of his other projects. So he's really somebody to look into. He's a great person. Right now we're in Black History Month. He's a really good person to find out about because he's doing a lot of great work. But this book is phenomenal, and you'll just be like this. Oh my gosh! Oh my God! You know, another one that kind of reads like a novel, but it's obviously true. So that's my other recommendation. So how many do we have here? 1, 2, 3, 4. We have 4 because I don't have the other one. And my 5th one will be John Lewis, Carry On, Reflections for a New Generation. Remember, I got this, for all of you that have been with me for a while, I got this when Barnes & Noble here closed, our big store closed, and they were having sales on books. And I mean, oh my gosh, it was hardcovers were 50% off, and then they just kept lowering and lowering. And I can't remember. I'd have to look in on my chart of how much I ended up paying for these books. But I would have paid full price for this because this is that good a book. And this is a great book as a gift book too, because it's really nice bedside. You can put it on your bedside. And what I love about this book, and this was the last thing he wrote before he passed away, is so it's the table of contents. The chapters are all different categories, and then he speaks to them. And it's really like this, it's really, really short. Like you could read one a night before you go to bed, and it would be a very enjoyable experience, or maybe more than one. Probably like say 3 a night, or you could do 1 if you wanted to really stretch it over time. But these are, let me just read to you so you get an idea of some of the categories, the things he talks about. On mentors. So he writes on, carry on, right? Carry on mentors, on heroes, on good trouble, which was the term that he coined, on activism, on justice, on courage, on character, humility. So as you can see, I didn't shy away from the flags again. And like, okay, let me read one to you so I can give you an idea. I should have picked one beforehand. Okay, here's one. So this one's on justice. And at the very end is usually when he seals the deal for you. And he says, there's much work ahead, but our mandate is clear. We cannot thrive as a democracy when justice is reserved for only those with means. If we don't respond to these calls for justice, we will fail the people whom we represent. And then let's see if I can find one more. Okay, let me see. They're so good. I just love it. What's this one? Okay. I'm going to take up too much time rereading. But basically, each chapter has a lesson for you to take away. So like I said, if you wanted to get somebody a gift, this is a great one. It's a really small book. Like, let me give you an idea. So your regular book, it's like that. It's just, it's so, it can go in your purse. You can take it to the coffee shop and sit down and just read his words. He was an incredible man. And this is a great book to give you some insight to him and to his letter to us before he passed. He knew he was going to die, and he wanted us to, have more from him before he's gone. So I love this book. So that's my 5th book. Well, I'm going to cheat a little. It's supposed to be 5, but I got 2 honorary mentions because I kind of wanted to mention them because I think that, well, partly because one of them was near one of the other books, and I was like, oh, and I picked it up, and then I go, oh, and so it kind of got pushed back when I was thinking, I had to keep editing. But I'm going to give you these 2 honorary mentions anyways, and we're just going to, I make the rules, then I can break the rules, okay? You just pretend that there's 5 books. But you pick 5 out of the books that I put. This one I read this one I got also, I think, at that same Barnes & Noble. And this is a newer book, too. Let me see when she's newer, maybe not really. Do you consider 4 years ago newer? Maybe not. Um, but this was came out in 2021, and it's called A Bigger Picture by Vanessa Nakate. My Fight to Bring a New African Voice to the Climate Crisis. If you go back, you can find my video where I reviewed this. I really enjoyed this one. It followed her. She's a young climate activist, and it talks about it's some very enlightening things in terms of statistics. Like, for example, let's see if I can pull one in here. 7 of the 10 countries most susceptible to the harshest climates of the climate crisis are in Africa: South Sudan, Nigeria, Ethiopia, Eritrea, Chad, Sierra Leone, and Central African Republic. Let's see what else. The African continent has just 15% of the world's population. It is responsible for only about 2 to 3% of the global energy-related carbon dioxide emissions. And so it's really interesting, like, you know, all of these things that we are doing that are detrimental to the climate, in you know, here and say in the United States and in Europe, are directly affecting everybody. You know, it shows how we all are connected, but it shows how some are suffering more with less resources. So she talks about that. There's a lot of great statistics and things in there to note. But she talks also about the face of activism and how, you know, she faced, you know, opposition. She faced discrimination as a person of color and African and an African descent when she was trying to do her, trying to do some of her work. And I thought that was very interesting to hear about and to think about. And so I thought this was a great one. It's really important right now. We have so many unprecedented climate emergencies in the country, fires in California, really strange weather. We're witnessing strange weather here too. So, you know, it's really important to see some of the people, what people are doing. And she's young, and the young people, what they're doing. Like, this is the picture of her. And that's her on the cover as well. So if you get a chance, that is an honorary mention one. My last honorary mention one too is was popular back in the day, and it's The Immortal Life of Henrietta Lacks, and it's by Rebecca. How do you say it? You should say it. Sloot. There was controversy around it. I read it when it first came out. Oprah really loved it. I think she made a movie about it. And then came the fallout, where people were getting very angry. Members of the family of Henrietta Lacks came forward and talked about how they felt like she profited from their story, and they didn't really get any benefit from it. And, you know, this one is just a very important one in terms of medical history, and, you know, how things that we're doing today are still benefiting from the DNA and the cells that they got from this woman, and what they did to her and what had happened to her family. A very hard, you know, sad story. And it's definitely a very important story. So I definitely say I still would recommend reading it, because whether or not whatever went on with regards to Rebecca and the family, I think it's really important information that she brought up to our attention that we didn't know about before then. So I still think it's a great book. So that's an honorary mention. So those are the books. Let me just hold them. I can't believe I don't have Cliff Smith. So you're going to have to pretend you see it. But these are the 4 with a 5 that I don't have, that I would definitely recommend. You know, you pick up, you know, you could read it for Black History Month, or you can just read it whenever. But these would be my nonfiction recommendations in my 5 for 25. And I'll talk to you again with some of the other categories. And now I'm happy because I can put those 5 books back on the shelf and they don't have to be on the floor. I will talk to you guys later. Bye.